Anyone who's been watching me for a while has heard me praise the Harry Potter series. I used to fight with my brother over who got to read the new books first as they were coming out. Each new book brought incredible characters and expanded a very complete universe, leaving us with what I thought was a satisfying ending. So when I heard that a new book was coming out, I had mixed feelings. Sure, I wanted to read more about Harry Potter, but at the same time, the story was done. Harry's story had been told. Adding more artificially would only have felt like they were just watering down the brand. Still, it was penned by the ever-talented J.K. Rowling, so it would probably be loyal to the series. And then I found out that the novel wasn't a novel, it was a screenplay. Well, that wasn't what I was expecting, but it could still be good. And then I read it. Let's begin the review, shall we? Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is the quote-unquote 8th book in the series, published earlier this year in 2016. As I mentioned before, J.K. Rowling herself wrote the story, along with Jack Thorne and John Tiffany. It takes place 19 years after the Battle of Hogwarts, following not just Harry, living his life as a busy adult and parent, but his youngest son, Albus Severus Potter, who has just started school at Hogwarts. Harry is overworked and doesn't know how to connect with his son, and Albus is living under the weight of Harry's legacy, which is made all the worse when he gets sorted into Slytherin. The meat of the story is really your average father-son relationship tale in which the two sides need to reconcile and learn how to communicate, with a light magical twist added in. Albus gets stressed from school and takes it out on his father. Harry gets stressed from work at the Ministry of Magic and doesn't know how to connect with Albus, so he's often short with the boy. Things get really out of hand when Albus travels back into the past to save Cedric Diggory's life from Voldemort by using a recovered time turner that he and his friend Scorpius Malfoy steal from the Ministry of Magic. This results in one dark twist after another as the two rewrite history time and time again, usually making things worse. Since the book isn't the usual novel that I review, there isn't much to comment about the writing style. 90% of what's written down is dialogue, and the rest is either set description or blocking. That means the book is condensed into the two things that I think are most important when writing a good story: characters and the universe. By now, we should all be familiar with the wizarding world of Harry Potter, and if you're not, seriously, get on that. This is an incredible series. This book doesn't add much in terms of new spells or potions, but it does play around with the characters a good deal. As the book opens, Harry is the head of magical law enforcement, Hermione is the Minister of Magic, and they both work with Draco Malfoy who, surprise surprise, is still kind of a dick. We also see similarities and differences in the world as Albus attends his first year at Hogwarts. He gets compared to his father and mocked relentlessly by his peers when he isn't a magical genius. This gives him a brooding persona, but he still has the heart of a hero, wanting to do good even if he doesn't fully understand how to achieve it. The problem I had with the story, aside from the usual problems time travel stories give us, was that it doesn't really give us anything substantial. The Harry Potter books before this gave us a hero we could grow with, and in a lot of ways, that's the problem. Harry no longer has the same stories from when he was a kid. Before he battled the Dark Lord of Magic in order to save the world. Now he's an adult, with adult problems and parenting duties. They may be set in a magical universe, but there's no real intertwining of magic and story to be found here. If we took magic out of the original books, we would have a substantially different series, but if we took magic out of this book, we would still have the same story. The only exception to that statement would be the time turner, but thematically, it's easily replaced with Albus leaving school and outrunning his father, getting into deeper and deeper trouble with various people. Albus had an uphill battle from the very start as far as coming off as an appealing character. Just like he struggles in Hogwarts under his father's legacy, so too does he struggle under the reader's expectations. He's not the determined young man, struggling to do what's right and fighting the forces of evil like Harry was. Albus, to me at least, was this quiet, frightened child who didn't do anything noteworthy until his 4th year at Hogwarts. Joining him is his buddy Scorpius Malfoy, son of Draco. While Harry disapproves of this relationship, Albus and Scorpius continue to be friends, having met one another in much the same way that Harry and Ron met. Scorpius is an okay character, supporting Albus when he needs to and contributing to the plot. I don't really have too much to say against him, but then again, unlike Albus, I didn't really have another character that I felt compelled to compare him to. It should come as no surprise that the characters have changed over time as well. Harry is, believe it or not, even more stressed and confused than he was as a kid. Between parenting and his job, I can certainly understand that. Hermione is still driven and learned, but Ron is a joke. I just pictured him as this fat, balding man with no job. These are all possible outcomes, of course, and I can believe them, but personally speaking, I grew up with Harry Potter and now I read this book and he's different from when I last saw him. It's like meeting a friend you haven't seen in almost 20 years and finding out that they're just different. It's not bad that they changed, I mean, it's what people do, but it's not what made you friends in the first place. Now, one last thing to point out was that since this was a screenplay and not a novel, the experience is different. The play could be great as far as I know, but simply reading from the script, I found myself underwhelmed. Seeing Albus grow up and pushing Harry to the side made the book feel more like an exploration of a side character rather than a fully fleshed addition to the Harry Potter universe. Many of the different timelines Albus and Scorpius visit are wild what-if scenarios that, on their own, don't make a complete story, so this whole thing feels like several amusing ideas that have been jammed together into a single narrative. Even though this came, at least in part, from Rowling herself, it reads more like a fanfiction than a fully realized Harry Potter novel. Decent fanfiction, mind you, but still not the real thing. I was hopeful when I first heard about this book coming out, but that's the problem with hype. It sets your expectations too high. That's why it saddens me to say that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is really just meh. Some people will like it, but I'm not one of them. Now, that's not to say this is bad, because it's not. It's okay, but it doesn't have nearly the same polish and charm as the other books. A lot of that can be pinned on this not being a novel, and hey, maybe it looks amazing on stage. As for me though, I'm just gonna stick with the original 7 books and leave this one to the side. So, have you read the book? What did you think? If not, do you want to read it now? Whatever your thoughts, comment below and stay tuned for more.